and you're not going to find it on the program, so you just got to focus and listen here. Because the program was already efficiently printed by the time we got him on board. Steve Williams is a noted writer, historian, speaker, author, and columnist, raised in New York City but residing in Georgetown, South Carolina. A former educator and school administrator for more than 3 decades, Steve has taught every grade level. He is working on his 12th book, and he's got a great story for us tonight. Please welcome Steve Williams.
Thank you, Janet, and words can hardly explain how glad I am to be here today. And they say there's nothing to do at Georgetown on Saturday night. I'm so happy I'm enjoying this, and I'm actually happy during the intermission. I saw several of my friends, Ray Funny, Natalie Humphrey, Hope McFadden, Angela Washington, so many people that know me. Most people know me from my articles and some of my church, but I want to say that I am really enjoying myself. And I'm glad that Lisa said she wanted to honor her parents, because I have a story that I actually wrote about in one of my books. It's called I Misunderstood God. And I want to take this opportunity. When Ray asked me and Janet asked me, would I do it? And I said, what is the prompt? And the prompt, or what's the subject this quarter? And it says, if you had a do-over. And I said, yes, I have a do-over that involves a person that I really love. And so, about a little more than 100 years ago, in a little town in the upstate of South Carolina, a little town called Fountain Inn, South Carolina, right outside of Greenville, the World War I was going on. And at that time, because of the men were out fighting the war, it was considered okay for women and children to go out and work to pick up the slack. And so this little boy and his mother, who lived in Fountain Inn, South Carolina, the little boy's father abandoned the family when he was 3 years old. And when he was 12 years old, he begged his mother, Mama, please, 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 Mama. Seeing his mother struggle, said, Mama, please let me go to work. Please let me go to work. Now, his mother was a deeply religious person, not Pentecostal, but Baptist. But it's okay, because I was raised Pentecostal, and I know about staying in church all day long. Hallelujah. So the mother said, let me pray over it. And it took a little minute. It took her maybe a couple of days, maybe a week or so. And she prayed over it, and then she said to her 12-year-old son, it's okay, you can go to work. And so the boy was happy. But only on the 3rd day of working in this factory, it was a dark and dingy factory, and he accidentally stepped into an oil well, and the machine chewed his leg up, and he began to scream, help, help, help. But at that time, there was no nearby hospital for blacks. So they said, well, you better take him home to his mama. And that's what they did. They took him home to his mother. And by the time Janet, the doctor, got there, the doctor said his leg is too mangled to do anything about it. We just have to cut it off. They amputated, screaming and crying and praying, oh God, over and over, I misunderstood you, God. I misunderstood you, God. I misunderstood you. And the boy said, Mama, what's the matter? What's going on? What's crying about, Mama? She said, son, last night, while you was asleep, they cut your leg off. And instead of being distraught, he said, oh, Mama, don't worry about that. I'll find some other way to take care of you. It's a true story, because some of you are old enough to remember a fellow by the name of Peg Leg Bates, a one-legged dancer who danced for kings and queens around the world and he holds the record for being on the variety show called Ed Sullivan 21 times. And he made enough money to take care of his mama with that one leg. Now, let me transition. Thank you. Let me transition to my father. I'm glad you said you wanted to honor your father and your mother. It was not supposed to be this way. He would cry at the drop of a word, a song, a spiritual verse. And I had no idea why these frequent sentimental outbursts occurred. But somehow I knew that they were not tears of joy. Maybe it was natural or okay for a man his age to soften, a man weathered by the vicissitudes of life. But I knew that these were not tears of joy. I assumed that the man that taught me how to tie my shoes and tie my necktie would somehow himself remember that. But as I sat there in the patient of a doctor room and watched the medical assistants take my father by the arm and pried him like a monkey from office to office, I understood, oh, how I understood the proverb, once a man, twice a child. My father said to me, Stevie, well, let me back up. My father, this proud man, this unconquerable man, this man who skillfully navigated life, social, economic, and emotional, and political waters all his life. This man who splintered his seed so that I may have life, had one more fight in him, and undoubtedly it was his last. As I was sitting there with him in the doctor's room, he said, Steve, he called me Stevie. The road in front of me is much shorter than the one behind me. But in some small way, I think I have made a difference. Who will remember that I came this way, Stevie? Steve, you're a writer. I'd like you to tell my story. And I said to him, Daddy, my father, my hero, was asking me to chronicle his life story. At first I said if he was able to live it, then I should be able to write it. But then I said, no, Steve, I'm too close to him. I won't be able to write it because my objectivity would be blurred. And so I began to manufacture silly excuses. I said, Daddy, don't talk about death so much. Daddy, don't die until you die. Live until you die. You have, as the writer said, miles to go before you sleep. But I suspect that my daddy could not understand my insensitive words. And had I not been his son, he would not have suffered my foolishness gladly. So I said to myself, how stupid of me to assume that I could know how it felt to come full circle in life. How could I ever know that after 83 years of living in a university of adversity where his common dignity was routinely denied, how could he know that he had to face brutal unkindness and suffered not the disease of possibility blindness? How could I know about a man who experienced Jim Crow, the World War, and the Great Depression, and yet went into the Navy and served this country honorably? But when he came home, he found out that he's a 40-year-old man, but your name is still boy. How can he govern his tongue and discipline his disappointments in life without losing his mind, nor losing his joy, nor his historical mind? How can he take America's promises and greatness and broken wings and learn how to fly, and then listen to an insufferable little pigeon named Stephen tell a full-grown eagle how to affirm life? What in the hell was I thinking about? After that, little by little, I submitted my will, and I began to write about my daddy's story. But then I procrastinated. I took my time, and I said, Old Man River's just gonna keep rolling on. But what I didn't know and what I didn't understand, that he was tired of living, but scared of dying. And I just got 2 chapters written in this story before I thought I heard, like Beg's mother said, I thought I heard the still small voice of God says, I will not call him home, Steve, until you finish his book. And with that insurance, I went back to procrastinating. But guess what? One day I'm out in the field and I get a call from my niece. She said, Daddy, Grandpa's dead. Grandpa's dead. And all I could think about was, I misunderstood God. I misunderstood God. Oh, God. If I had my do-over again, I'm from the position, let me smell my flowers while I can. If I had, and I've written, like Janet said, many, many books, but my father never heard his story. And if I can do it over again, I would have done it so he can hear it. Thank you.